So it's just not, I don't want to make it a whole blanket statement, but when I'm looking at a generation going, they literally like, you want to have sex? Hey, dude, I'm proud of you. Like, that's one of the free things in life. I'm not mad about that. You want to do drugs? Okay, well, that's dumb. I mean, no, I mean, like, I'm not against pot in any way, shape, or form. But when all you do is smoke pot and go to sleep and wake up and eat your parents out of the refrigerator, I'm like, sooner or later, you got to be productive because pot is not free. I am your host, Jason Julius, and today we are doing a Q&JP question and the Julius Perspective. And the Julius Perspective is based on not giving you the answers because I am big on accountability. You find your own answers, but I will give you my perspective from my 17 years in entrepreneurship and my 20 years in leadership. And hopefully you find some perspective in that because everything in life is about perspective. And I'm going to get right into my little opening because they say everything on social media is supposed to be about authenticity and showing who you are. And I'm having a bad day. And I've been having several bad days here lately. And I'm like, okay. Normally, when I think about doing podcasts, I'm like, well, how can I be in the right mindset? And how can I be positive? And then I'm like, well, one of the things that has changed with this generation is that they don't want salesmanship and they don't want fake. They want real. And I'm like, okay, I will give you real. The simple fact is just because I'm having a bad damn day doesn't mean that progress doesn't have to occur. It doesn't mean things stop. It doesn't mean that leaders stop leading. It doesn't mean that your payroll is not still turning. It doesn't mean that your landlord still doesn't want their rent. It doesn't mean life just stops happening because you're having a bad day. It means you're having a bad day, and I am having a bad damn day. But I'm going to try and keep as much negativity out of it as possible because negativity breeds negativity, and I'm not trying to turn this into a negative podcast. I am just trying to, in that vein of be authentic and be real, because in my real daily life, I'm not going to say that I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but if I'm having a bad day, generally people know that I'm having a bad day, and it
radiates.
It does. That's and I'm not overly proud of that. It was. It took me many years to realize that I was doing it, and then it took me more years to get control of it. And then I started using it like the dark force, and I'm like, no, that nothing good comes out of that. But on the other end of it, I mean, I'm me, and for better or worse, I'm far from freaking perfect, but the people that are around me, I think are around me because they accept, or you guys accept that about like the people that I want around me. I want people that bring more positive than negative to the table because I know nobody is perfect. Nobody brings perfect positivity to the table. And I know some people that have brought nothing but negativity to the table, and I put my foot in their ass on the way out the door because I don't want that kind of negativity in my life. But the point being, not everything can be all roses, and not every day can be great. And it is the highs and the lows that if it was all just an even monotone, well, then you would never appreciate the highs because you wouldn't have the lows. And I know we're going to get through this. I'm frustrated at, well, it's odd that at 47 years old, I'm literally like, I'm one disconnected from this new generation that is coming in. I'm having a hard time understanding their mentality. I'm having a hard time. Because being such a realist, like I'm having a hard time understanding like what in their mind makes them think that they're being rational. and I've got Rebecca here because, I mean, she's the one that told me this story, but she catches a guy that is just kind of, he's on the clock and meandering. And the dude proceeds to tell her upon questioning that he was helping a friend out and trying to get somebody dinner and trying to take care of somebody else. And she was like, while you were on the clock? He admitted yes. So she told him to go back to work and that once she cooled down, she would address it.
No. Oh. I told him to get off my clock, finish his business, and then we would talk.
Okay, now you got to... yeah, I know, but you're not speaking into the microphone.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
They can hear you now.
So, to clarifying, that's not the punchline of the story. The punchline of the story is that upon calming down, she goes back to him and is like, let's reset. Because again, she's trying to understand this generation, and this is great. So she goes up to this guy and she's like, help me understand. What is it that you want? What is it that you like doing? He said, well, I like having sex and I like doing drugs because I like getting high and I want to make a lot of money. And just like that. And I mean, that was it. Full stop. Like, while she's catching him, totally mailing it in, not doing his job, not earning the money whatsoever.
In the middle of a Friday night rush.
Yes, dinner rush, to which it is all hands on deck, obviously. I mean, you got to operate like a team if you're going to get anything done. He was honest. I mean, I'll give him that. Honest to say, basically, I want to be a worthless pile of and do nothing and experience all the pleasures in life and be paid well for it while with having no expectation of giving anything in return. Like, he was honest with her and with himself, but I'm like, I'm having a hard time understanding this rationale. And this is where we get to the unintended consequences of technology, where you've got a generation that has never struggled for nothing, and all of the answers are right there at their fingertips. And it's not true if it's not on the internet. And of course, it's true if it is on the internet, and they can get all of their answers right there because an algorithm tells them everything. And since we've already loaded up all the information, nobody with any type of wisdom has any type of valuable input to give because, hey, they got all the answers right there at their fingertips on their phone that most of them are likely not paying for. And I'm having a hard time understanding.
I like how you slipped that in there.
I don't understand. I don't get it. And yes, I do personally believe that a certain amount of work does build character, and that if you're going to do something, you should do it well, because that is your reputation that will always follow you. And especially in the day and age of social media, anything and everything will follow you at this day and age. And I'm struggling to understand. And now I'm not just in the food and beverage industry anymore. I mean, between the marketing company and the apparel business, and then obviously, I mean, my own personal brand, where I'm out there on social media, kind of looking at what other people are doing. I'm trying to understand where we were, where we are, where we're going. And I can't paint a great picture of where I realistically see that we're going, because 1 + 1 still fucking equals 2 to me. And we are a pay it.
That's the problem. That's the old math.
It is. That's what I'm saying.
They have the new math now.
Yeah. And I'm not understanding it, but I'm like, this is a pay it forward nation. And when I say pay it forward, like Social Security was designed that you're not paying into your Social Security, you're paying into somebody else's Social Security. So we are paying into a Social Security program so that the generation in front of us gets to have Social Security. And that means the generation behind us is supposed to work so that they can pay into the program, so that when we get to the point of retiring, we can have Social Security. Now, I'm not going to deny I've never hung my hat on Social Security. I left Chrysler. I never hung my hat on having a retirement pension, blah, blah, blah. But
Those things do sound nice, though.
I mean, generally they do, but security is a fallacy. That's not my point. My point is and I don't want to speak because we've got some really good people in all of the companies. I don't want to take this away. Like, we've got some tremendous people. So it's just not, I don't want to make it a whole blanket statement, but when I'm looking at a generation going, they literally like, you want to have sex? Hey, dude, I'm proud of you. Like, that's one of the free things in life. I'm not mad about that. You want to do drugs? Okay, well, that's dumb. I mean, no. I mean, like, I'm not against pot in any way, shape, or form. But when all you do is smoke pot and go to sleep and wake up and eat your parents out of the refrigerator, I'm like, sooner or later, you got to be productive because pot is not free. And when your idea is, I want to make a lot of money, but it's obvious you're a lazy SOB and don't want to work, I'm like, that's a generation of people that what is going to come of this country in the next 20 or 30 years? And it really, like, I come back to Rebecca saying, I need to understand what it is they want, because I'll tell you this, and I reject the participation trophy mentality.
Well, that's what they want.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to pat somebody on the back and tell them they're doing a great job if they're not doing a great job. And you get attaboys and you get credit and you get recognition for going above and beyond, for delivering above average. So coming in at average or below average and expecting a pat on the back for coming in at or below average, I'm sorry, I just don't buy into it. And I go, what is that movie where they were trying to grow corn with Gatorade? Idiocracy. Yeah, that's like legitimately, I'm fearing that shit. The same way that I'm looking back and I'm fearing Terminator and I'm fearing Demolition Man. And it's not that I'm fearing it, but I'm looking at it going, they dreamt it up 20 and 30 years ago. And now some of that shit's starting to come to fruition. And I'm
Soylent Green.
What was it?
Soylent Green.
I don't remember Soylent Green.
Oh, it's an old movie, but the movie was set in 2022. It's where in your food, it's actually people that you're eating.
No, I don't want to talk about this.
Oh, so we're all cannibals.
Yeah, I mean, think about the veggie burgers and the different things that they're coming out with. I mean, what's in that stuff?
Do we even know what's in the beef anymore?
No, but that right there is why. Hey, no, that's because that's the thing.
Different.
I literally pay more money for. I mean, I'm like, I want grass-fed, no.
But you don't
hormone.
technically know that.
No, I know. I'm depending on the packaging and hoping the FDA has some semblance of morality left.
They don't.
No,
at all.
Okay.
Can't find anybody to work.
Yeah,
I'll eat people. I'll go on the record.
No, and that kills me right there because I'm like, I've noticed that there seems to be a chicken shortage. Used to, you could walk into a grocery store and the first thing that there was a mass supply of was chicken. Now it seems to be the one thing you can't seem to find.
When COVID happened and all the supply lines broke down, the farmers weren't going to feed all these animals for an undetermined amount of time, and they killed them all. Like, they just mass slaughtered hundreds of millions of chickens. Tens of thousands of cows, pigs, like all of it. Like, they just killed them and threw them in a hole. Because they're not going to pay to feed them for that extra year or two for the demand to come back. Like, it's cheaper just to kill it and grow another one.
Okay, and I mean, I guess monetarily, I can understand how that makes sense. I couldn't understand why the government was telling farmers to destroy their crops,
same thing. It's just
okay.
There's people starving in this world. Why you do that, I don't know, but.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on. I'm getting up to. I'm again. I don't want to. I'm not a negative individual. I'm a realistic optimist. It's just that, damn, if the reality doesn't kick in, and sometimes it's struggling to even be optimistic. We have a new member. We have a new team member here today. Not a new team member in general. Tori's been with me for about 4 years, but new to the podcast. And Tori came up in the Indianapolis operation. She is just changing gears as we were transitioning into the franchising phase of the business. So she found herself in Kokomo and involved in this podcast. Hi, Tori. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm lovely, as you can see. Yes. Okay, so with the Q&JP, basically I set it up where sooner or later we would move towards allowing people on the internet to ask questions, but I've left this open for anybody on the team to have a question that you might be looking for an answer out of me or my perspective in general. And we go around the table. So I'm going to start with you. Hopefully you got a question ready, something that is just like burning. You want to know where I stand on the issue, or it's free. It's what is that? Open season. I mean, sometimes Matt literally uses it as open season, and
I do.
He does.
People at home enjoy it.
Yeah, but
You're all welcome.
okay. So, do you have a question for me today that you would like an honest or my honest perspective?
I didn't really have any perspective questions, but I am so curious about where you won all of these cars. So,
Oh, okay. You're talking about my die-cast cars.
yeah, because I see this one behind your shoulder when I watch the podcast, and that's the one that caught my attention. But once you get
Okay.
in the office, there's a ton of cars.
No, and the thing is the one behind my shoulder is a 71 Corvette. Actually, no, it's not. It's a 69. My father, as a kid, had a 71 Corvette Stingray, and it was puke yellow, but I still remembered it was cool. When I worked at Chrysler, they had pull tabs, and so a pull tab is that basically it's like a card thing that it's got 100 pulls on it, 100 numbers, and then you sell that pull, and anybody can randomly pull a different tab. You get a number on the back, you write the number, and then you peel off the top. It shows the number, the winning number wins whatever it is you're raffling off on the pull tab. So at Chrysler, that was back in the early 2000s when 118 scale die-cast cars were all the rage, and they started coming up with a bunch of old Chrysler cars. Well, I won a couple, and then before you know it, I'd won a couple more, and then I started
wanted some more.
Yeah, well, and then I started realizing that, I mean, then there was some collector value to them, that there were like 1 in 3,000, 1 in 2,500, 1 in 1,500. And then they had some of these old cars that they would have them like in different colors. So if you really wanted to max out the collection, you had to get the car in all of the different colors. And one thing led to another. And I'll be honest with you, this is only about half of the collection. The other half, I turned back around as I was moving from one plant to the other. I got hard up for cash, so I bought some pull tabs, and I raffled off about half of my collection to raise money as I was moving from one plant to the other. But this is the remnant of what is left over of my Chrysler days, because I am a true car guy. Like cars are one of the purest forms of art. I love them. I've had, God, I quit counting after 30, and that was many years ago. So I know I've had over 50 cars. Yeah, I'm a true car guy. I really appreciate. Yeah, it's so yeah. One thing led to another, and before you know it, I mean, I haven't bought a die-cast car in a long time, but once I won a couple of them, then I got pretty aggressive in the pull tabs about buying more. And then I can remember a couple times that I lost, and I still went to the guy that won and bought the damn car off of him because I was trying to complete the collection. But yes, that's I've got some pretty cool 118 scale die-cast cars, and sooner or later, their bigger versions will be housed in a garage right along the 68 300. But yeah, that's a story for another day. But yes, I am a true car guy. I love them. I mean, that's one of the purest forms of art known to man, from my perspective, anyway.
I keep telling them, like, we're going to get to come in here and pick out from the die-cast cars.
Look, because I was going to say the same thing.
We want.
As soon as he started talking about the garage, I'm looking around like, I could take that one. I could take that one. Like that blue one over there.
Yeah, that blue one's the one that I want.
Oh,
I
that's
already
the
said the
Viper, and I don't. You know what? That's not. I wouldn't take that Viper. If I was going to buy a Viper, it would be a. I don't know if it'd be a convertible, but it'd be an open air. That's where the glass top removes. But Okay. Moving away from my die-cast car collection, Rebecca.
It's not my turn. It's Matt's turn.
You did say we were going around the table.
Oh, did I say we were going around the table? I mean, the thing is,
Save him for last.
I expected her to be, because I mean, I told Rebecca, I said, you want to do a podcast? And she was like, I don't have nothing good to say. And I was like, yeah, I don't know that I do either, but that's being real. So
I kept pushing it, and here we are.
Exactly. So,
Matt,
yeah.
I can blame you.
Yep. It's not often we get to see an angry Rebecca. We all get to see an angry Jason.
Try to keep that contained.
Okay.
So, people seem to be a problem. What do you think about automating everything? That means minimal staff. I only have to find a few good people instead of a lot.
No, and see, and here's the thing right there, in that, because let's go backwards, because I mean, coming from the mass manufacturing, the automotive industry, I remember when Bush sat up there on TV and literally said, I'm going to all of my people, and I'm going to give the manufacturing industry to China because America is going to be a service nation. And I remember when he said this back in the late 90s.
Less colorful language, but
I'm paraphrasing with colorful language, no doubt. But I remember him saying it, and I remember being in shock hearing our president literally telling us, we're a service nation. I'm going to give all of your jobs to China. Well, by and large, that transition has very much been happening over the last 20 years. And we still have a semblance of manufacturing now, but there was a lot of pain that we went through transitioning from when he said that to where we are today. And he literally did give all of our damn jobs to China. I mean, it's like Clinton gave all of our jobs to Mexico and Bush gave all of our jobs to China. And I'm like, how are you just going to give up these manual labor, middle class, good paying jobs? Well, I don't know, because again, you get into that. Where conspiracy theories come is what you have to gauge between intended and unintended consequences. But when you've got that level of minds in our government, what we might write off as unintended consequences, that's where conspiracy theorists come in and they're like, no, you don't get it. That's the intended.
It was intended.
The intended consequences. So when our government right now sets back and tells people and gets them to believe that you should all make $15 an hour and you should refuse to work. So to the point that we have 16-year-olds stomping out after interviews because we're not willing to pay them $15 an hour. Like, I look at that and I'm like, you dumb people. When I say dumb people, I'm talking about the government people that are putting out this message out there telling everybody that if you're not going to be overpaid and expect to do nothing, that you should refuse to work. I'm like, you don't understand the unintended consequences that you're going to bring on this nation. But then when I think about the people that are saying it and why they're saying it, and I'm like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's not hard to connect these dots that these are intended consequences, because the people that are saying this hate capitalism. And what's the surest way to break capitalism? Get a generation of people to quit contributing to it and literally sit there and refuse to work. So when you say automation, I'm like, that's what's coming. Because when people refuse to work and we've got this technology, you have no choice but to automate as much of it as you can, because robotics they don't talk back. They don't call in sick. They do, however, take very highly educated, highly paid engineers to make sure that they continue to operate. But whether you want to talk about intended or unintended, when people refuse to work, yet a nation still demands to be serviced, automation is the only answer. I have not figured out how to automate a barista. I don't. Like, we have brought in a bunch of tools and technology to help them do their jobs. Starbucks has automatic espresso machines. It's more or less a one-touch button. We have semi-automatic espresso machines that at least it controls the actual dosage and the extraction. Starbucks is testing barista-less operations where you have to type on a screen on your order and it comes out a chute so that there is no customer service element to it. I have seen pizza tables that robotically they are spitting out the sauces, but we're not there yet. And then, of course, even when we get there, it's going to be the big business that has the big money that's going to be able to spend to outfit that stuff. And about like every show that you see where they've got robotics, that it's always the small business that has the second and third and fourth generation of garbage that they're piecing together to try and get to work so that they can have a piece of it, because they're big business and small business are not, I don't think that they're either. I don't think that one is having necessarily better luck than the other one. And then you get stupid shit like Amazon. I was just talking to somebody, puts out a $3,000 signing bonus. You get $1,000 after 30 days and the other $2,000 after 6 months. And I'm like, well, if anybody knows anything about Amazon, like they strap a tracker to you. Every step you take, every move you make is.
Sounds like a song.
It is.
But the point is, like,
Stinging.
almost like a shot caller, like they'll buzz you and be like, why aren't you moving? Like they work you like a dog. So if you get to the 30 days, they got their extra $1,000 out of you. If you get to 6 months, which they know is the likelihood of you getting to that 6 month period, that they will break you down mentally and physically within 2 to 4 months. So the likelihood that they're ever going to have to pay out that $2,000, they look at it as their big money. They've got that churning machine that everything is so automated that you are the robot, and they will push you to take your 10,000 steps every single day. And the likelihood that you'll ever make it to getting the bigger side of that bonus is slim to none. And big business can get away with that. But the point is, that's their answer to the same issue I'm having. Struggling with labor and people that don't want to work. And it's not in the food and beverage industry. It's across all industries.
They're not picking up my trash this week because they don't have the manpower.
And the thing is, what I want to say about that is that trash men are paid well. Mm-hmm. And what I'm getting at is that the little out there that want to chime in on social media about, well, you should pay your people better. Hey, dipshit, this is across all industries, and it's not about pay. This is about mentality of people wanting to be given something for nothing that they don't actually want to work. And it is a character flaw.
Does Kokomo still have, like, is a person grabbing the bags and throwing it in, or are you guys like to the...
No, they have the lift.
The little arm thing.
And still do not have enough manpower when all they're doing is driving and pushing a button and picking up and dumping to actually be able to dump trash. Think about the course of the nation when it comes to trash if all of a sudden they don't have enough manpower to remove all the trash in the nation.
You ever seen Wall-E?
Huh?
Have you ever seen Wall-E?
Wall-E, no. What's Wall-E?
The Disney movie, and it's about like the whole planet is taken over by trash, and then they think that they can grow pizza from a seed because that's how things used to happen.
Oh, well, I mean, it's just like Demolition Man. It looked like a little what's some goldfish snackable things.
Goldfish.
Are they a goldfish? But you pop it in the microwave and out comes a full Taco Bell dinner. You know, well, that's this movie.
I mean, that's very close to Star Trek, where you just like put in your little thing, and then you're like, that's like,
yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
and I'm waiting for that. I'm ready.
Okay.
and I'm scared by it all because it's just not like. You have
coming.
Part of working is using your mind, because knowledge is not power. It's what you do with the knowledge that is the power. So if you're not working, even if you're just sitting around dreaming up great ideas, but then you don't ever want to do anything with those ideas because you don't want to work, then then the thinking is it's wasted thinking. Like you're not even really stimulating your brain because we're not shy of dreamers. We're shy of doers. And again, that's just my perspective in general, but it just seems to me that a lot of this mentality is coming by the way of the messaging. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm sitting here having a hard time seeing this messaging as the unintended consequences. I think that it's intended. And I think that the people that are doing this are literally trying to break this country. And the bad, sad thing is they're going to get what they're asking for, but they're not going to get what they want. Their message is in the higher power of what they claim they want, and it's not going to happen that way. Nothing ever happens the way you want it to happen. But what they're asking for, I mean, like you can strive for that political power. Well, when you are in control of nothing but a bunch of lazy people that want to squat and not work, what is that power going to be worth? Nothing. Okay. Moving on. Mr. Bradshaw, what do you got for me?
I don't even know where to begin. Other than I do have my new shirts now.
We went out of our way to
probably happy. They're probably wondering if I ever got my gloves back. I have not.
Oh, that's not fair. I think I offered you your gloves back. You told me you didn't even want them anymore. Yeah, I do. I recall it. That's how I recall it going.
After you've ran and sweated in them, yeah, I probably don't.
Wow.
So you got so many different issues going on in so many different places.
Yes.
We talked about workforce problems. So besides the workforce, what is your number one current issue?
You said it.
My gloves?
No.
Oh.
So many different issues going on at one time. Like, I enjoy that I have always been able to juggle so much and have so many things in the air, but inevitably all of those things come down and you either throw them back up in the air or you close projects to make room for something else to go up in the air. Well, we still have initiatives with Coffee Junkies and Pizza Junkies that have not been closed out yet. And don't get me wrong, when it comes to that, when it comes to processes, systems, and I mean, like Coffee Junkies and Pizza Junkies was supposed to be a lifelong endeavor of continually developing and bringing new tools. But as we're getting into franchising the dual brand under one roof concept, it's like, no, we still have initiatives that have been on the board that we needed to close out to where it was totally everything was okay. All of these great ideas that we have brought them into execution and closed and implemented. And there's still a couple projects out there still yet to do. Well, then we have the same issue with Scared Rabbit. And then we have the same issue now with Vickers. Well, you combine all of that with all of it collectively, or what has become Double J Brands, we have so many issues and so many projects that it's mind-boggling and to a point of frustration, because we should be doing better about getting these initiatives up and assigned and implemented and closed to move on to the next. And we're not getting it done fast enough. But that's also why I have reached out for some consulting and some specialists specifically in certain industries to make sure that guidance, that mentorship, that coaching is there to be pushing us and putting deadlines in front of us so that we come out of the end of this year as productive or more productive than we've ever been. Because that's we cannot continue to move forward with me opening 100 different loops and you guys not closing those loops as fast as I'm opening them, because I mean, I can develop really great ideas and I can dream up the entire process. But when you're scaling a business, I can't open the loop and close the loop. I need people to help bring the ideas and organize all of the thoughts and bring the whole team together and lay out an actual operational plan that takes us through the steps of getting everything done foundationally so that we can move on to growth and scaling. And we have got, I mean, it's like I have quit opening loops because I'm sitting here knowing that there's too many open that we have got to start implementing. We got to start closing these loops so that the objectives that have been put in place, we don't get to the end of the year wondering why we did not get them to implementation. And I'm not going to deny that it is frustrating. As a small business, it's frustrating. As an individual, that I'm like, I want great talent, but inevitably, as Rebecca is seeing, and this story has not changed, you can hire 10 people and you're lucky to find one really, really good one. And again, I'm not passing out participation trophies. I'm not buying into that shit. You do not get a trophy just for participating. I want to empower really solid people, and I want to reward really solid people, and I want to pat on the back and thank you for your contribution for really solid people. But if you are below average, you need to be told you're below average and pick it up, man. Get your ass moving. I mean,
you're crushing too many souls.
Well, I want to be honest. I would rather that, and I don't even like the whole being brutally honest, but I want to be honest. I mean, I'm like, nobody has any respect for half-assing it. And times have maybe changed in general, but I just don't believe that in all of the years of existence, I don't think anybody has any respect for somebody that's just mailing it in or half-assing it. That just doesn't, it's disheartening because I've seen so many people, like whether they be young or old, man, so intelligent, could contribute so much, such bright minds literally being wasted. And I think that a lot of that has got to do that's the shame of it, that they've heard the wrong message and for whatever reason they've like resonated with it. Yeah, I don't want to do shit and I don't want to become anything. And, oh, you should pat me on the back for being that way. And that just does not, I don't understand it. It doesn't resonate with me. And again, that's where I can't believe that. I mean, I remember when I was younger thinking I'm the new school, and now I'm like, no, I'm not. This new school, I'm not quite understanding this new school.
Your generation did this.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to take responsibility. I'm like, and don't get me wrong, because that's not how I raised my kids. But I remember raising my kids going, you know what? I started working full time at 14 years old. So give my kids a childhood. Don't push them to work. Let them be a kid because they got the rest of their life to be adults. And now I look back and I'm like, wish I would have pushed them to work. But
you went a little too easy on them.
But I didn't spoil them. That I didn't have anything to spoil them with. But they didn't work and they didn't struggle. They didn't know what the meaning of struggle was.
But if you don't work and you didn't struggle, doesn't that mean it wasn't too bad?
Oh no! It wasn't too bad. But I didn't go out, as Barry to say, I didn't, because I'm like, no, my daughter's first car was a Mercedes. I joke about that, but I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, let's be clear though. It was a customer that I bought it from. It was a $5,000 Mercedes. And then I realized, that those are very specialty items to be worked on, and you cannot just regularly find people that can work on them. So even a $5,000 Mercedes is quite expensive to work on.
When his son came around, I was like,
Yeah,
got this old Jeep over here, though.
And
Like,
that's-
anybody can work on this.
about the extent of it. Yeah.
Sorry, Cole.
But the point being, no, they didn't have to work for anything. It was okay, you got your childhood, and enjoy your childhood because you got the rest of your life to be an adult. And I'm like, okay, both of them now are well into their 20s, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have pushed a little harder for them to work at the younger years, because
They're starting to flap their wings.
yeah, yes, exactly. But much the same way as they look at me like I don't have shit to offer them when it comes to wisdom, because hey, the answer's on Google.
Google does know it all.
Yeah, apparently it does. I mean, and I'm sitting there going, sooner or later they're going to realize that there is wisdom in wisdom. That's
You heard it here first.
yes, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because I always end up running these too long. I don't know if you learned anything, but you got some perspective and heard some answers. And again, I'm not trying to be negative, but you know what? When I'm frustrated,
This generation sucks.
yes, I don't want to say that because again, I mean, I'm sitting there right now going, we employ between the brands somewhere 80 plus people. And we got some really good people. So I just don't want to assign it to the whole generation. But there's this new group, and this new group has bought into the shit that they should never have to do anything. And that's, there's going to be consequences. And some people are going to not be conspiracy theorists and, they're unintended consequences. And then others like myself are going to be like, I'm hearing the messaging and people are working off of that messaging. So that makes it an intended consequence. And there is going to be a consequence to this. There's going to be a consequence to the inflation. There's going to be a consequence to this political messaging, because everybody in this nation still wants service. But when there's nobody here to work, well, it's really the amount of service that you can offer starts to get strained, and that is going to be the problem, is that the service is what is going to end up being, you're going to lose the service, because if nobody wants to work, well, then the only thing left is the robots. And of course, big business is going to have all the latest and brightest robots, and small business is going to have the hand-me-downs, and there's glitches in new technology, and there's glitches in old beat-up technology, which means your expectation of service is going to end up having to be notched down. But okay, I'll leave it at that.
Unless you mix the two.
Yeah, you can try. It's finding that middle ground and solving those problems. But share the show, please. Share the show. I don't know. You know what? After you hearing this, you might think that I'm too negative, and you want to give it a 1-star rating. I don't care. Rate the show, share the show, and if you're still listening at this point, thank you very much, and we will see you next time.